Okay. Get going here. Representative Howard, would you like to lead us in the pledge?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, welcome. I apologize for being a little late. You'll understand in a minute. Going to open up the notice a public hearing for the House Election Law Committee on Senate Bill 489 FN relative to election audits. I believe Senator Gray is here to introduce the bill. Senator, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is James Gray. I am the senator representing Senate District 6, which starts up in Alton and Gilmanton, comes down Route 11 to Rochester, and the communities in between. This bill is a continuation of the audits that we preliminarily authorized a couple of years ago. Tried them for a year. They worked out very well. It's got some updates with lessons learned in there. Again, we're trying to provide the people with assurance that the elections are conducted properly and that the results that they get are with the new machines now, the ability to do certain things is enhanced with those. One of the things that I will point out that's different than what we've done in the past is on page 2, and it goes into lines 22, 21 through 25, I guess. And that's allowing certain ballots to have an auditor's mark put on them so that if we take random ballots and select a few, that we are going to do for our sample, that those can be identified during the scan process so that we know how those ballots were actually counted in the machine. And that was a request done in conjunction with the Secretary of State's office. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Questions from the committee? Yes, Representative Hamer.
Thank you. How would you go about opening up the boxes and getting 50 ballots out? Can you explain that, please?
Well, the process, if you watched what we did last time, we did the whole thing. Opening the boxes was part of the audit procedure. And at that time, we scanned every ballot into there. I can't remember exactly whether we're scanning each one of the ones now. I believe that we are. But again, the way that it was done is that they were done in groups of some reasonable number, okay? And then inside the machine, it tallied the things that were in those groups. Certainly, one of the ways to do this would have been to say, well, I'm going to pick one of those particular groups of ballots because you can get the reports. And they thought it was better to be able to put a mark on the ballot, an auditor's mark in a field, somewhere not associated with any of the election results, and then be able to pull that back from the machine. So that it wasn't, this group, that group, or this other group, but it was more a random thing. So, they're open, they're processed, the results are announced, and they're resealed.
Further questions? Representative Weary.
And thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Senator Gray, for taking my question. What's the rationale for the 2% sampling size?
We had to pick a number, and if you go into statistics, trying to figure out what the standard deviations are and what the positives are, it's if you take within 5 standard deviation or within a standard deviation, but you narrow it, you get to a 99.86 whatever percent accuracy. The mathematicians all know that kind of stuff, but the numbers in here more rely on what we think is reasonable, what do we think we could do. With the average machine in New Hampshire, around 2,000 to 3,000 ballots go through it on election day. You know, that certainly also entered into our calculations. And trying to do a count in the morning and a count in the afternoon for the 2 days for each machine that we deploy. So that would be, deploying 2 machines. So we would have 8 in total, which is the number that you see there.
Okay.
Again, we're trying to keep the numbers reasonable, but also have that assurance. And I think, although some people would like to see that number smaller, some people would like to see it bigger, I think we've got as best a compromise as that I could come up with.
Okay, thank you.
Further questions from the committee? Oh, I'm sorry, Representative Lane.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator Gray, for taking my question. I actually have 2, so. On where it talks about the paper ballots for each device audited shall be processed by the audit equipment. What is the audit equipment? I guess I just wasn't.
In the last bill that we had, that it, again sunsetted after the first application, the Secretary of State went out and did a procurement of scanning equipment that could be used to count the votes on the ballot, and that, along with the computer that goes along with the scanning equipment and the printers and all of that, constitutes the audit equipment. So it's the same, as best I know, it's the same equipment that we used 2 years ago when we did the last ones.
Okay.
Take a follow-up?
It's not actually, it's a follow-up. It's just a different question.
Sure.
Are there any criterion for the selection of the audit locations, or is this something that the secretary would just pick? I have the vision of a fishbowl with all the numbers in it, but how does that happen?
I'm going to change your question just slightly and say, when we pick the devices that we're going to audit, because we're not auditing locations, we're auditing devices. And as long as the ballots are segregated, and that's one of the reasons to give the community notice if they've got multiple machines, so that we don't have to scan all the ballots through all the machines. We only have to segregate the ballots that went through one particular machine. But what we've done is in here, we talk about that they are able to group these into various groups. So if we want to make sure that we scan Voting Works ones and we scan the ones from Dominion, okay, and on about an equal basis, or we want to take a large community and we also want to take a medium-sized community or a small community, they are able to segregate those into those, and then that choice from that community that they establish will be a random draw, or somebody throwing a dart, however they want to do it.
Thank you. I just wasn't quite sure how that happened. And then, is it the Secretary of State alone, or is it his staff? I mean, how does that work?
I think that the Secretary of State is represented, and I think that I did not enter into how that selection was done. They assured me that it was done on a random basis, and from the results that I saw in the last time, we had different parts of the state, we had different size communities, we had all of those things would make me believe that they did a very good job at that.
Representative Brennan.
Thank you. I have a question on line 14 of page 1. It says the devices and the towns or city wards where devices to be audited are located shall be non-public. And then in the following section, it says that the secretary shall not announce until after the polls are open on election day. And so I'm wondering if the secretary is announcing it on election day, would that not be public? And are those two lines in conflict with each other?
Certainly, the information is going to be public at some point. The point that we're trying to get to here is that if the general public knew what machines we were going to be auditing on what day, that would defeat the purpose of doing the audit in the first place, because you would not do anything. So we want, before we identify which machines and which communities those machines are in, we want to make sure that they are up and running on election day, and that no other modifications would be made to them after they're put into the service. And so I don't see the inconsistency in there. This is that their selection criteria would not be done in an open session. You know, when they pick the machines, they would not be announced ahead of time. The assignment of the people who actually go out to the polls, because what they've done in the past is they've actually sent somebody to those locations to help them and make sure that they were able to segregate the ballots that went through that particular machine. All of those things need to be non-public, so that these that the randomness of the count and not allowing any modifications can all happen before we actually go and announce the machine. But we want to announce them earlier in the day than what we did before, because in a large election or a community that is trying to get away with one machine where they might better have more machines, that if they start putting ballots into a box because the machine is full, the bin is full, then you lose the opportunity to segregate the ballots for that particular machine, and it makes that audit process much more difficult.
Representative Rafter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thanks for taking my question. You have done some of these audits on kind of a trial basis. I'm just curious how many times you've found discrepancies between the original voting machines and the audit equipment.
Those reports are all available online. Because the different scanners, and I'll back up just a little bit and move the mic so I can see you. The scanners, certainly the sensitivity and selectivity of how they interpret those ovals are going to be slightly different, okay? And so we do not expect that the count be exact, okay? Because of that, because of the limited technology that we have, we don't know. When we did the Wyndham audit, there were some machines that the lights were very sensitive. Some machines, the lights weren't as sensitive in the Wyndham machine, but overall we got a very good count. And the reason that we actually announced those results prior to the last day to request a recount is so that the people, the candidates who are being voted for, can look at those results and say, yeah, there's enough of a difference between this machine, that machine, that I do want to recount. It also allows the Secretary of State to review those results and say we need to do more of an audit, which is also in the bill, that allows them to do that. So slight difference. Yeah, we expect that there will be, 1, 2, depending upon, but that may be 1 or 2 per 500 or 1,000, and not a large number. But again, giving you, if your race was being audited, okay, the opportunity to say, yeah, there is a difference here, and I want that recount. You have the opportunity to do it.
Further questions from the committee? I just want to clarify. So this is basically reinstalling the audit that sunset, and
Yep.
then adding a provision for to 65936. Right. In a nutshell.
In a nutshell, and it also updates the language so that, any differences between the AccuVote machines and the authorized machines, will be taken into consideration.
Okay. Any other questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Senator Gray. Senator Gray, you're not introducing the next bill, right? No. Okay. Next up will be Olivia Zink with actually, excuse me. Let's go to Erin Hennessy. I apologize, Deputy Secretary. Sorry, Olivia. She was at the Deputy Secretary was a late entry.
Good morning, everyone. Erin Hennessy, Deputy Secretary of State. I just want to say we support this legislation. I do want to point out Representative Brennan's question about the non-public. Maybe there could be a few words added in that section, just to make it clear that at some point we do have to announce which towns we're auditing. In the past, our audits have been very successful and proven that the devices that we use here in New Hampshire to count our ballots are very efficient and accurate. We would love to see these come back into legislation so that in September and November and in future presidential primaries, we can continue to have audits for transparency purposes to assure that everyone here in New Hampshire that the machines that we use to tabulate our results are accurate. Just a reminder, we have 2 different ballot counting devices in use here now in New Hampshire, the AccuVote and the Voting Works device. The Voting Works device was used in 5 different locations in March town meeting. We anticipate that at some point in the future, we'll have a third, the Dominion device. We do not use any of these brands for the tabulation or the audit purposes. We use the Clear Ballot device to audit the ballots that are tabulated by any of those 2 or possibly 3 machines. We think that's a good way to improve transparency. And that device is constantly tested to make sure that it can accurately count the ballots that are being programmed by the 2 to possibly 3 different vendors we have. So to sum it up, I am very supportive of this legislation, our office is. I'm happy to take questions if you have any.
Questions from the committee? No? Okay, thank you.
Thank
That
you.
was okay. Next up, now we have Miss Zink. I apologize for the head fake.
Good morning, members of the committee. For the record, I'm a voter, Olivia Zink, voter in Franklin and Executive Director of Open Democracy, and we are in support of post-election audits. Post-election audits are simple and a proven way to increase confidence. I just want to sort of answer Representative Rafter's question. In 2022, we had 4 post-election audits. There's a 76-page report on the Secretary of State's website. But in Tilton, there was 1,546 ballots that were run through the AccuVote machine on election day, and the Clear Ballot audit had the identical amount. They also audited Durham, and in Durham, there were 5,873, and the audit showed that there were 5,872. So there was 1 ballot different, and they show the documentation on that. Somersworth Ward 3 was another community in 2022 that was audited on election day. AccuVote showed 8,506 ballots, and Clear Ballot showed 8,504. So 2 ballots different on election from the post-election audits. And then they also did Pembroke, and it was 3,241. And then on the Clear Ballot showed 3,248. So there was 7 ballots different. And that could just be things that were, put on the side pocket on election day, or there's reasons in the report shows the different discrepancies. And also people don't read the instructions on the top of the ballot on how to mark a ballot. So it says fill in the oval, and people do all kinds of checks, X's, all kinds of crazy things that are showing those differences. But I also would want to mention post-election audits happen across the country. 34 other states have these things. We passed a trial version that happened after the 2022 elections. You passed another bill to make this happen, and it lost in committee of conference. And I think that, 8 ballot counting devices was what the Senate has in this bill. And I think the House might have took a 6 ballot counting devices position. There was like a difference between which ones. But however many you do, 6 or 8, I think it's important that you do it, or 4 like you did 2 years ago. So I think that's the important thing. And I think the other thing I'll just mention is that maybe in line 15, you can say prior to election day. So prior to election day, it's non-public which machines you're going to do, and then that sort of solves your problem with it being announced on election day and becomes public. That's just one suggestion in line 15 on page 1. I'm happy to take any questions.
Yes, Representative Waring.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for taking my question. So the numbers you just read off from the report are substantially more than the amounts listed here for the sampling. I'm sorry that I didn't direct this question to Deputy Secretary earlier, but
No, my understanding is that they do the ballots that were run through the machine, and then they look at paper ballots. They look at 50 paper ballots. So they do the scan part, and then they look at 50 paper ballots, or 2%. So you're
so
doing
hand count, 2% hand count.
it's yeah, the paper ballot is a sort of person looking at that many ballots, and the machine runs through everything that the machine looked at, but then they just randomly select 50 ballots where real humans look at them. So that's just and I think that, some of the folks that do this nationally say it should be 100 ballots, but whatever, I think it's important that you look at some.
Thank you for clarifying that. So I see on line 2 of page 2, the physical examination of it. And so it's sort a pseudo hand count, or manual verification of the processes selected. So thank you for that clarification.
Yeah, and I think on the other point is, like, some communities have multiple machines in their town. So if you pick Derry, they have multiple machines, or Bedford has multiple machines. They're just doing the ballots that were run through one machine. If you picked Franklin Ward 2, we only use one machine. So it's easy to sort of say that one machine in Franklin Ward 2 is the one machine. But in some of the other ones, you wouldn't know which of the multiple machines they're using. So I think that's where you have to have that announcement to election workers on election day, so that they know everything that runs through this machine has to be boxed up separately to go to the post-election audit, because it could get really confusing you want it to be clean.
Further questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you, Ms. Zink. Last up is Catherine Lingle.
Good morning. For the record, my name is Catherine Langell. I'm a 20-year-old voter from Concord, and I'm a student at St. Anselm College. I'm going to say this. I'm a psych major, so I look a lot at statistics, and I was looking through this bill, and there's a lot of really good things in here when we're talking about, like, operational definitions, statistics, processes, etc. So I'll say that. But I'll also echo my superior in saying that post-election audits are an important step in maintaining integrity of New Hampshire elections in the face of a potentially tumultuous election season, addressing concerns of those faced with mistrust in our elections, and this can assure voters of our safe and secure system. This legislation adds another layer of accuracy and certainty in the reporting of results, and that transparency that was discussed. So in the favor of brevity, I'm going to stop there. If anyone has any questions, I'm happy to take a crack at them.
Other questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
That's all of the pink cards that I have in my possession. Representative Aikenberg, can you grab the blue sheet for me? Oops. Thank you. And it is blank. So no one here signed up, and online they moved it. Legislation. All right. Well, I'll read the online count in a minute. We'll get going on the next thing. Going to close the public hearing on SB 49. Open the public hearing on SB 535. Representative Perkins Coa. Thank you. Welcome to election law. For the purpose of introduction, I'm sorry. Let me read the bill title. I apologize. We're going to start the public hearing on Senate Bill 535 relative to absentee ballot forms. Now you recognize Senator Perkins Coa. I apologize.
Good morning, Representative Berry, or shall I say chair, and members of the Election Law Committee. It's nice to be here. I see several familiar faces. For the record, I am Senator Rebecca Perkins Quokka from Senate District 21, the city of Portsmouth, and the towns of Durham, Lee, Madbury, Newcastle, Newfields, Newington, and Newmarket. I have all the news. Today, I am introducing Senate Bill 535, an act relative to absentee ballot forms. This bill amends RSA 657-4 to align it with RSA 657-1. The purpose of the bill is not to change policy or to expand the requirements regarding absentee voting in any way. It is simply correcting two misaligned conflicting state statutes. SB 535 updates the section of the absentee ballot request form regarding receiving an absentee ballot in the case of a winter storm warning due to concerns about traveling to the polls. In doing so, it corrects the conflicting language that regulates who qualifies. The change will This change will directly affect that the ballot request form to match RSA 657-1 regarding the scenario will match up. I'm happy to take any questions.
Are there questions from the committee? I imagine not, because we have already passed this. So,
Okay.
not this bill, but we passed this. I believe it is. I think we voted it out last week, right? Yeah, we voted it out last week. So I think you guys have ours, which is actually even more simplistic than this.
Okay.
Does the same thing.
Okay.
So good luck.
Great.
Good luck. Would you like the bill number, Senator?
I
I'm
would.
hap-
HB 1119.
HB 1119.
HB 1119. I will
Yep.
be on the lookout.
Yep.
Great.
It was
Great
actually our
decision.
own Prudhomme O'Brien, Representative Prudhomme O'Brien's bill, and it's literally the same thing. So,
Okay.
okay.
Wonderful.
All right. Any other questions? Or I didn't really even have a question. All right. Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Do have one pink card, Representative Zink. Olivia Zink, Open Democracy.
Good morning again. For the record, Olivia Zing, Franklin, New Hampshire, Executive Director of Open Democracy. I just want to say that absentee voting is nonpartisan. According to the Institute for Responsive Government, research shows that no party gains anything from allowing absentee loss. We were very lucky this year with town meetings that we didn't have snowstorms last week, and no one needed to cancel elections. But in the case that winter storms, blizzards happen on election day, this strikes the language on page 1, line 24, that I'm infirmed. I'm elderly, affirmed, or have a physical disability. And I think that it's important that anyone who's concerned about a winter storm can vote, even if they're not elderly or infirmed. And I want to thank this committee and Kathy Prudhomme O'Brien, who has a slightly different version of this bill that strikes slightly different language, but the concept is very, very much the same. I did bring a copy of the absentee ballot request form so you can see the language of elderly infirmed on the prior to election day. But basically, it makes this form the same as the statute.
Okay. Questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you. I have no other pink cards online. I was ready to go online this time. There were 12 people in support, 4 opposed. On 489, since I wasn't quick on the draw on that one, there was 14 in support, 0 opposed. There was one person signed up in support who did not speak. That happens to be the Secretary of State's office. With that, I will close the public hearing on SB 535. And wow, look at that timing. It is 10:31.
You're right on.
Just some say best scheduling ever. Okay. So why don't I will open up the executive session for the House Election Law Committee. we're going to start with House Bill 1091 relative to financing of political committees. Excuse me. Let me pull up my notes here before we make a motion. It's okay. If that's the worst thing that happens to me, it'll be a good day. Okay, here we go. All right. So, I will make a ought to pass motion on House Bill 1091. I believe Representative Lang, would you like to second it?
I'm happy to second.
I am sure. Representative Lane, are there any amendments to House Bill 1091?
Yes, there is an amendment that should be in front of you that we got about 9:30 this morning. 2024-1193H.
Okay. Representative Lane moves amendment 2024-1193H. I will second the amendment. We are now on discussion of the amendment. Representative Lane, would you like to speak to your motion?
Yes, I've been going through it to make sure, because of our deadline, to make sure that OLS, and they've been wonderful. They've been very helpful in working with me on this, so that they caught all the changes. And I have a few little nits that we need to make. One's a date, but I want to just, for people who brought up suggestions, if you want to look to see if your suggestion is in here and what you wanted, I'll try to remember where it is and I can point you to it. And then I will say that Representative Howard's language is from his bill is not in here. And we added in the language for the waiver. So if someone wants a waiver from a reporting requirement, it is, bear with me. Which has it? Sorry. I hope it made it in here.
In case anybody's wondering why we're doing this one first, it's because we're going to go through the amendment, and if we find things that are wrong, we will hopefully have time with OLS to fix the amendment and take it up at the end of executives. That's why we're starting with this one. So please do your due diligence and take a good long look. We have time, but we do have to act on this bill today.
It's a new section, so it should be. Yeah. I guess I would ask Representative Quayle if he was managed to find it. I'm looking for the waiver term where the reports that we were going to let people who could apply for a waiver to the Secretary of State from filing online.
I think our committee researcher wants to bail us out.
And what page? Thank you so much. Right, there it is on line 30.
Okay.
So basically, if you spend less than 3,000 and you don't possess a computer or the skills to file statements pursuant, you ask for a waiver, and the Secretary of State will look at it and approve or disapprove. We can tweak this later and after a couple of years as people get used to the system. My guess is, and the Deputy Secretary of State just told me that everybody is entered into the online campaign system, because if we don't do it, they do it. So that even if you haven't registered as a candidate, you're required to register, but they will register you. At least you're in the system. So that's that one. I would like to let people know that our version of this version of the bill is phasing in using the online system. And so the first time somebody will be required to use the online system would be for the next, we're phasing it in, we're having the governor, the executive council, and the state senate go first because there's less of them. And we thought it might be easier to get some of the quirks out before we put 400 of us into the system and start using it and asking a lot of questions. So the thought is that the way we defined election cycle, it starts 21 days after the election. So the election cycle for 2026 starts 21 days after election in 2024. So if you look at the date, for 26, the election cycle starts that day, 21 days after, and goes through the next 21 days
yeah.
after the 26th election.
'Cause-
And the reason we did that was because people, you know, campaign a lot and raise money a lot, and we want them to be able, you know, to capture those and require them to be transparent about it. We're not limiting them, it's just to be transparent about it. So that's on the bottom of page 4. It's line 37. So I just want to flag that because originally when we had defined, we had not defined election cycle and it was a different date. It was in 2025. And then if you go over on page 5, line 3, that date is wrong. It should be November 24th, 2026. So maybe 2025. Yeah. This is why I just wanted everybody to look at it because this is an important date. So it would be, 2 years later, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So do we need to fix that?
Yeah, I'm gonna have her fix that. And there was a couple other, because we're taking out the definition of political advocacy committee, it popped up in the chart where they have how much an individual can donate, and that chart is page 6. Yeah, so that will take that out, and that's one other little nit. So anything like grammar and misspellings, we can fix when we get over to the Senate side. And also when it's enrolled, they will usually fix those kind of things. So that's it. I guess I would like to go through it one time more before we vote. So can I go back in the corner? Because it's 13 pages long and we,
Yeah, well, yeah, no,
rather
we're
than
in,
make
we're in,
everybody,
we're in no rush on this. Does anybody see anything else that we need to flag on this? Okay.
and I thank everybody's patience and actually trust.
Yeah.
Because this has been a big,
It's been a
it's been a long list.
it's been a long way, and you did, in terms of you did get the language from the Senate about the font size and the
I got
clarity
all
of the
that
port.
in.
That is, just to clarify, that is in this amendment.
Yeah, it's in here.
So when we go to vote on that later, that language is in this amendment.
And right now, because we're mandating the online after a certain time, that will gradually disappear because that allows for PDFs and that kind of stuff. So if you're entering it directly into the online system, that piece won't be applicable anymore. So, but it is in here. Yes, the font size.
Yes, the infamous font size.
I almost wanted to make it higher.
Dut. I can tell you where that road ends if you'd like. I've been there. Yeah, there's definitely not a pot of gold at the end of that rainbow. Um, okay, so we'll let Representative Lane go off and do that thing. I will recess House Bill 1091. We are taking this up today, so don't go anywhere.
I'll try to sit over there and just go page by page through it.
Okay.
And then I can come back over.
Yes, Representative Aikenberg.
Can you tell me where it shows or reflects the font size in here?
Let's take a look here.
Page 9 at the very.
Page 9, line 37. 8-point font. There you go.
One other thing is we need to make we were going to make the effective date of this section only, immediately, like 60 days after passage. And that way, that stuff all for this election will go in like that. Then the rest of the bill will be effective on January 1, 2025. So I need to clarify that at the last, on the last page.
The goal is to incorporate the language of SB 530 into our larger campaign finance reform.
So, yeah, because that bill was 60 days after passage. So I wanted that section the same way. So it's kind of our first step.
So we are overhauling campaign finance while also updating campaign finance, while also changing campaign finance. So what could go wrong?
So we may be cleaning up some unintended consequences next year. But
Yeah, I imagine we will, and that's okay. But we're gonna make it. I guess we're not. We're in recess. We'll come back to discussion of the bill. Okay. I'm going to open up the executive session on Senate Bill 490 FN. And before you go, Representative Lane, I need you to make the motion on this. 490 FN relative to the verification of the checklist. It's okay. I'll make the motion.
you want to, okay.
I'm going to move Senate Bill 490 FN to be inexpedient to legislate. Is there a second? Representative Ware, you'll second me. Speak to the motion real quick. We've already passed this. We've already passed a version of this out of the House. I see no reason to take two House positions. The House already has a position. It's up to the Senate what they want to do with that. So I will be, while I appreciate the sentiment of this bill, I have already voted for what I believe is a better version of this bill. So I'm going to get rid of this bill. Further discussion on the motion of inexpedient to legislate. Yes, Representative Ware.
I'll just add, per my testimony on this bill the other day, is that I really think that the 5-year cycle adds to a inconsistency across elections. I think there was ample evidence, if anyone reviewed the email I sent to the committee or read the testimony that I presented in hard copy on earlier. So I think based on that, I don't think that this is a good thing to set up for having the elections to be inconsistent year to year and across different presidential election cycles. So that's why I support the ITL.
Further discussion on the motion of inexpedient to legislate on Senate Bill 490. Hearing none, the clerk will call the roll.
Representative Quayle,
Yes.
Representative Alexander,
Yes.
Representative Perdome O'Brien,
Yes.
Representative Ankerberg,
Yes.
Representative Burnham,
Yes.
Representative Wary,
Yes.
Representative Wood,
Yes.
Representative Osborne,
Yes.
Representative Harvey Belia,
Yes.
Representative Lane,
Yes.
Representative Ward,
Yes.
Representative Hamer,
Yes.
Representative Hamblett,
Yes.
Representative Palmer,
Yes.
Representative Bay,
Yes.
Representative Brennan,
Yes.
Representative Grill, yes. Representative Howard,
Yes.
Representative Rafter,
Yes.
Chairman Barry.
The chair votes yes. With that, the motion of any expedient to legislate carries on a vote of 20-0. Any objection to this bill being placed on the consent calendar? Hearing none, this bill will be placed on the consent calendar. Representative Lane, can you please have someone from your caucus write the report?
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, with that, I will close the the executive session on Senate Bill 490. I will open up the executive session on Senate Bill 530. I will recognize myself to make a motion of any expedient to legislate. Is there a second? Please. Representative Weary seconds me. Thank you for leaving me that awkward pause. As I said during the recessed executive session on House Bill 1091, we are incorporating this bill into House Bill 1091. So there's no point in putting two pieces forward. That's why I'm moving this. The language was taken verbatim and put in, almost verbatim and put in, except we got to amend 1091 for the correct enactment date. So with that, is there any other discussion on Senate Bill 530? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Representative Quayle,
Yes.
Representative Alexander,
Yes.
Representative Perdome O'Brien,
Yes.
Representative Ankerberg,
Yes.
Representative Burnham,
Yes.
Representative Wary,
Yes.
Representative Wood,
Yes.
Representative Osborne,
Yes.
Representative Harvey Belia,
Yes.
Representative Lane,
Yes.
Representative Ward, Representative Hamer,
Yes.
Representative Hamlet,
Yes.
Representative Palmer,
Yes.
Representative Bay,
Yes.
Representative Brennan,
Yes.
Representative Grill, yes. Representative Howard,
Yes.
Representative Rafter,
Yes.
and Chairman Barry.
Chair votes yes. Without the motion of any expedient to legislate carries on a vote of 20-0. Is there any objection to this bill being placed on a consent calendar? Hearing none, this bill will be placed on consent calendar. I will take care of the committee report. Write that in my notes. Okay, with that, I'll close the executive session for Senate Bill 530. We'll open up the executive session for Senate Bill 535. And I will recognize Representative Quayle for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that the committee find this bill inexpedient to legislate.
I'll second that motion. Would you like to speak to your motion, Representative Quayle?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill is very, very similar to HB 1119, which we passed out of this committee recently. Like HB 1119, this bill brings the contents of the absentee ballot request form into consistency with the underlying statute that defines the eligibility requirements for receiving an absentee ballot. Therefore, it's thoroughly redundant and there's no need to pass it. Therefore, I am recommending ITL on it. Thank you.
Any other further discussion on the motion of expedient to legislate? And I will echo that sentiment from the vice chairman of we've already passed this. The Senate has it in their possession. It's cleared the House floor. So there's no point in sending duplicative language over to just add the confusion. Any other further discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Representative Quayle,
Yes.
Representative Alexander,
Yes.
Representative Perdome O'Brien,
Yes.
Representative Ankerberg,
Yes.
Representative Burnham,
Yes.
Representative Wary,
Yes.
Representative Wood,
Yes.
Representative Osborne,
Yes.
Representative Harvey Belia,
Yes.
Representative Lane,
Yes.
Representative Ward,
Yes.
Representative Hamer,
Yes.
Representative Hamlet,
Yes.
Representative Palmer, Representative Bay,
Yes.
Representative Brennan, Representative Grill, yes. Representative Howard, Representative Rafter, Chairman Barry.
Chair votes yes. With that, the motion of ending speech to legislate carries on a vote of 20-0. Is there any objection to this bill being placed on the consent calendar? Hearing none, this bill will be placed on the consent calendar. I'll take care of the report. Those are super easy because we've already passed them. So it's like a 2-line report. Okay, with that, I will close the executive session on Senate Bill 535. What I'm going to do is I'm going to recess for 5 minutes so the various caucuses can meet for 489. Because I know that there was, I've been speaking with the ranking member previously. I know that the caucuses wanted to discuss this. So, do you want 10 minutes, Representative Lane? Would that be easier for you?
Yeah.
Okay, so we will meet back at 11:02. Representative Lane, if your caucus wants to stay in this room or use that office, that's fine. I'll take my guys down to 300. Okay. Okay, we're all back. Yep. Okay. So we are on, if I haven't opened it, I'll open it. Senate Bill 489 FN relative to election audits. Let me pull out my notes. I don't know why I'm talking without my notes. Representative Weary is recognized for a motion. Can you turn your mic on?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to move that 489 is ought to pass.
Okay, is there a second? Representative Wood seconds. Is there any discussion on the motion of ought to pass? Okay, that's easy. Hearing none, the clerk will call the roll on the motion of ought to pass on Senate Bill 489.
Representative Quayle,
Yes.
Representative Alexander.
Yes.
Representative Cordova O'Brien,
Yes.
Representative Inkeberg,
Yes.
Representative Burnham,
Yes.
Representative Wary,
Yes.
Representative Wood,
Yes.
Representative Osborne,
Yes.
Representative Herbie Belia,
Yes.
Representative Lane,
I just want to make sure this is SB 489, correct? Okay. Yes.
Yes.
Palmer,
Yes.
Representative Hamlet,
Yes.
Representative Palmer,
Yes.
Representative Bay,
Yes.
Representative Brennan,
Yes.
Representative Grill, yes. Representative Howard,
Yes.
Representative Rafter,
Yes.
Chairman Barry.
Chair votes yes. With that, the motion of ought to pass carries on a vote of 20-0. It has a fiscal note, so it can't go on to the consent calendar. So we will see it on the House floor. With that, I will close the executive session on Senate Bill 489. Let's get this one out of the way. Going to open up the executive session on Senate Bill 380 relative to moving the state primary date. I will move this as ought to pass. I believe Representative Osborne is seconding me. Yep. Always nice when that happens. Is there discussion on the motion of ought to pass on Senate Bill 380? Yes, Representative Brennan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I am concerned about moving the state primary to June. It really disrupts the down ballot races, including state rep races. It disrupts our election season. If the primary is moved to June, you have nonstop, year-long election season. You will have towns that have town meeting in March. Those candidates that file for municipal offices file in January. They campaign through February, and then March elections, town meeting elections. Some towns hold their town meeting in April and some in May. So you will be having some communities that are dealing with elections from January through May, and then they'll have a state primary in June. State primary candidates would be filing in about March. So you would have campaigning between March and June. The winners of the state primary in June would then campaign from June to November. At what point do communities get a break from campaigning, from political ads, from mailers, from yard signs? This would have a huge real-world impact on our constituents. I understand that supporters of a June primary believe this is better for our top-of-the-ticket candidates, our governors, our executive council. I understand that there is a quick turnaround between our current state primary in September and our general election in November. That's what it is. I understand that it would be better for those candidates, but what about our citizen legislature that we are so proud of here in New Hampshire, where we have regular folks serving in our state legislature, making decisions for our neighbors and our community? Does this not make it more difficult for them to run and serve in the state legislature when in the second year of the biennium, they would be still in the middle of legislative work when they would be expected to sign up to run and run a campaign. That's a lot for $100 a year. And it's not about money, it's about time. Regular folks serving in this state legislature who work full-time will now be expected to take time off for their legislative work and campaigning if they want to win. And I think a lot of us here, we're certainly not here for the money. We're here because there's a purpose in serving our communities. But we still need an income, right? So this is disruptive to candidates. It's disruptive to our communities who would be dealing with this nonstop campaign year. We'd be lucky if we had December off from campaign. That's what a June primary would do to us. Maybe we get December off from campaigning. This would also lead to a huge influx of money into our elections. If you are concerned at all about money in our elections, the amount that is spent on each election, the amount of in-state but also out-of-state funds that flood into our state for any campaign, you wouldn't support a June primary. So I'm asking all of you to please consider the real world impact of moving our state primary to June, where it will affect our constituents. If you're not here to serve your constituents and you are here to make political power plays, then by all means, support a June primary. But if you're here to serve your constituents, please consider the real world impact of moving the state primary to June. And please vote no on the ought to pass motion so another motion can be made. Thank you.
Is there further discussion on the motion? Yes, Representative Pridham O'Brien.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Something that didn't come up in this conversation, but was always in the back of my mind, was hurricanes. We recently had a blizzard in my community, and that was very disruptive to the election that we had last year. It's difficult to decide what to do during a blizzard, but when there's a hurricane, September is peak hurricane season. I feel like it's just a matter of time when you deal with the same exact thing. So this is not a political power play. You could say this was out of concern for my community with that situation. Thank you.
Any further discussion on the motion of ought to pass? Okay, I will end this discussion with my diatribe, and then we will call the vote. Representative Brennan, I wrote down points to things you read. Nonstop campaigning. Chuck Morse, Kelly Ayotte, Cindy Warmington, Joyce Craig have been running for governor now for approaching a year. So this notion that nonstop campaigning is going to be a thing, welcome to 2024. It's a thing. It's already happening. Number two, this solves our UOCAVA problem. Number three, I have voted for August in the past. I have voted for June in the past. August meets defeat. I want to see this moved in the context of UOCAVA, so June is the option. As for legislative work, there's a lot of ways to address that problem. The first of which is stop filing so many bills. There's like 1,000 plus for that overwhelmingly go ITL and on a consent calendar that we have to have hearings for and stuff like that. So please, we could fix that with rules. By the way, the House used to not meet in the second year. So if you want to get together about working people and young people being in the legislature, I'm happy to do that. Stop filing so many bills. Have the committee sessions meet later at night so young people can actually join them, and make the committee recommendation actually binding, and then they will be important. Make the committee smaller would be another option to have more working people, because now not everybody has to be on a committee. There's so many options to fix our problem, but at the end of the day, that's our problem. September doesn't happen to work well for me with what I do for work. So what about me? No, we don't think like that. The next one up is incumbents the primary is going to affect us, and we're incumbents. Incumbents are rarely primaried, and it is almost never successful. So in 2022, I think that there were 3 out of the 400 members were successfully primaried out. So less than 1%. So 99% are totally fine. Not really worried about that. Huge influx of money. It's an argument of fallacy. The current program suggests that the money only follows the incumbent who doesn't have a primary. So it's not on an even footing. It's time to put these on an even footing. And for the last one, here to serve our constituents. I agree this would more impact the upper ticket than the down ticket. I agree with that. 47% of New Hampshire Republicans have been represented 5% of the time in congressional races over the last 10 years. One of the biggest reasons why is because we have a laughably late primary of 45 days, and the money that would then go into support the 47% that have consistently voted Republican doesn't come because we have set up an incumbent protection plan. I am about ending the incumbent protection plan. I am voting for this. I have voted for August. I have voted for June. I would vote for July. I would vote for whatever you put in front of me that wasn't September. June is the option. June is the way forward. In the words of the Mandalorian, this is the way. So with that, I'm going to call the vote. Thank you, Madam Chair. The motion ought to pass.
Representative Quayle,
Yes.
Representative Alexander,
Yes.
Representative Prudhomme O'Brien,
Yes.
Representative Ankerberg,
Yes.
Representative Burnham,
Yes.
Representative Wary,
Yes.
Representative Wood,
Yes.
Representative Osborne,
Yes.
Representative Harvey Belia,
Yes.
Representative Lane,
No.
Representative Ward,
No.
Representative Hamer,
No.
Representative Hamblett,
No.
Representative Palmer,
No.
Representative Bay,
No.
Representative Brennan,
No.
Representative Grill, no. Representative Howard,
No.
Representative Rafter,
No.
Chairman Barry,
Chair votes yes. That the motion ought to pass fails. Representative Lane is recognized for another motion. I assume you want ITL it. You just vote
I'm
to get it ought to
sorry.
pass.
Yeah, it's ought to pass. I'm sorry. I'm trying to proofread and do this at the same time, and I'm not
Fair
doing
enough.
either very well.
Having
Chair,
just
I'm
voted,
happy to
I
make a
assumed you'd want to
motion.
vote. Would you like to move on? Inexpedient to
loose.
legislate. Representative Brennan.
I'm happy to move
Representative Brennan
inexpedient
moves
to legislate.
inexpedient to legislate. Is there a second? Representative Grill seconds. Is there any discussion on the motion of inexpedient to legislate? Hearing we just had our discussion, the clerk will call the roll on the motion of inexpedient to legislate.
Representative Quayle,
No.
Representative Alexander,
No.
Representative Prudhomme O'Brien,
No.
Representative Ankerberg,
No.
Representative Burnham,
No.
Representative Wary,
No.
Representative Wood,
No.
Representative Osborne,
No.
Representative Harvey Belia,
No.
Representative Lane,
Yes.
Representative Ward,
Yes.
Representative Hamer,
Yes.
Representative Hamlet,
Yes.
Representative Palmer,
Yes.
Representative Bay,
Yes.
Representative Brennan,
Yes.
Representative Grill, yes. Representative Howard,
Yes.
Representative Rafter,
Yes.
Chairman Barry,
Chair votes no. With that, the motion of inexpedient to legislate fails on a vote of 10 to 10. SB 380 will be reported out without recommendation. I will take the OTP motion. Representative Lane, would you like Representative Brennan to handle the ITL? I think that's only fair. Okay, with that, we will close the executive session on Senate Bill 380. And we will open up the executive session on CACR 22. Representative Quayle is recognized for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that CACR 22 be found inexpedient to legislate.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Representative Lane seconds. Is there any discussion on CACR 22? Seeing none, the clerk will call the roll.
Representative Quayle,
Yes.
Representative Alexander,
Yes.
Representative Prudhomme O'Brien,
Yes.
Representative Ankerberg,
Yes.
Representative Burnham,
Yes.
Representative Wary,
Yes.
Representative Wood,
Yes.
Representative Osborne,
Yes.
Representative Harvey Belia, Representative Lane,
Yes.
Representative Ward,
Yes.
Representative Hamer,
Yes.
Representative Hamlet,
Yes.
Representative Palmer,
Yes.
Representative Bay,
Yes.
Representative Brennan,
Yes.
Representative Grill, yes. Representative Howard,
Yes.
Representative Rafter,
Yes.
Chairman Barry.
Chair votes yes. With that, the CACR 22 will be reported out as an expedient to legislate. I will not be placing it on the consent calendar. We will see this on the floor. With that, I'll close the executive session on CACR 22. And now, did we get rid of? Yeah, we did like every Senate bill. So proud of us. We will open up the executive session on House Bill 1596 FN requiring a disclosure of deceptive artificial intelligence usage in political advertising. Representative Brennan, you're recognized for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to move ought to pass.
Is there a second? Is there are there any amendments?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I have an amendment number 2024-1209H. I'd like to move ought to pass as amended.
Okay, Representative Brennan moves Amendment 2024-1209H. It has been seconded by Representative Ward. Oh, I thought Representative Ward seconded it. Did he not? Okay, sorry. I thought I heard your voice there. I didn't. To be fair, I didn't look up. I just heard the voice and moved on. Representative Brennan, would you like to speak to the amendment? We are on discussion of the amendment.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. This amendment comes following a meeting among the minds, leaders in the Republican Party, as well as myself and a few others, that tried to meld multiple AI bills that are seen in a few different committees, making sure that definitions match, and that there would be cohesion among them. This amendment is a result of that meeting, which was attended by Speaker Packard, Chairman Barry, Deputy Speaker Smith, and Chairman of Judiciary, Representative Bob Lynn, as well as others. This amendment incorporates all of the changes suggested during that meeting, and we had reached consensus on this bill as well as the others, and I believe that the bill in judiciary that this was trying to match up with has already been passed through judiciary and is on the consent calendar for Thursday's House session. This bill is important to pass, and this amendment is important to pass because it can be effective this year, and none of the other AI bills can be effective this year.
Further discussion on the amendment? Representative Rafter, your mic's on you. Okay. And at a minimum, I'll save you from a hot mic moment. When you have a mouth like mine, you want that protection, trust me. I'm not saying you do, I'm just saying I do. All right, any further discussion on the amendment? I will be voting for the amendment. We've had a very, I believe, long-standing, or not long-standing, but at least newly standing agreement that we let amendments through, even if we don't necessarily agree with the underlying bill, and I will be honoring that. So I will be voting for the amendment. With that, Madam Clerk, you want to call the roll on amendment 2024-1209H to House Bill 1596 FN.
Representative Quayle,
Yes.
Representative Alexander.
Yes.
Representative Perdoma Bryan.
Yes.
Representative Ankerberg.
Yes.
Representative Burnham.
Yes.
Representative Wary.
Yes.
Representative Wood.
Yes.
Representative Osborne.
Yes.
Representative Harvey Belia.
Yes.
Representative Lane.
Yes.
Representative Ward.
Yes.
Representative Hamer.
Yes.
Representative Hamler.
Yes.
Representative Palmer.
Yes.
Representative Bay.
Yes.
Representative Brennan.
Yes.
Representative Gurley, yes. Representative Howard.
Yes.
Representative Rafter.
Yes.
Chairman Barry.
Chair votes yes. With that, amendment 2024-1209H passes on a vote of 20-0. Representative Brennan is recognized for a new motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to move ought to pass as amended, please.
Representative Brennan moves House Bill 1596 FN be ought to pass as amended with amendment 2024-1209H. Representative Ward seconds the motion. Is there discussion on the bill as amended in the ought to pass motion? Hearing none, the clerk will call the roll.
Representative Quayle.
No.
Representative Alexander.
No.
Representative Perdoma Bryan.
No.
Representative Ankerberg.
No.
Representative Burnham.
No.
Representative Wary.
No.
Representative Wood.
No.
Representative Osborne.
No.
Representative Harvey Belia.
No.
Representative Lane.
Yes.
Representative Ward.
Yes.
Representative Hamer,
Yes.
Representative Hamlet,
Yes.
Representative Palmer,
Yes.
Representative Bay,
Yes.
Representative Brennan,
Yes.
Representative Grill, yes. Representative Howard,
Yes.
Representative Rafter,
Yes.
Chairman Barry.
And chair votes no. With that, the motion about to pass this amendment fails on a vote of 10 to 10. Representative Aikenberg moves House Bill 1596, being inexpedient to legislate. Is there a second? Representative Worry seconds. Is there discussion on the motion of inexpedient to legislate on House Bill 1596? Hearing, Representative Aikenberg, you wish to speak? Okay.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is an example, I believe, of putting the cart before the horse. We're not really sure of the really clear examples of what we might see in this election cycle regarding AI and its potential use. There was an example in Pakistan in their most recent prime minister elections, where Imran Khan was candidate for election. The government had imprisoned him. Whether or not those charges are legitimate or not, I mean, that's not what we're here to talk about. But his campaign was able to use AI in a way that this bill would criminalize that speech, because, or force him to, or it would have put him in a situation where he would have had to declare that that was satire or something like that. Where the campaign, he did not have the ability to campaign in public, and his campaign was able to use AI to create electronically generated or artificially generated voice campaign information to get out to the public, so that he was able to effectively run a campaign. So that's just one example that I have seen of a use of AI that this bill would criminalize or prohibit, that could in fact be utilized in the future. And on those grounds, I would say free speech grounds, I will oppose it. I will support the ITL. Thank you.
Further discussion on the motion of speech legislative. Representative Bruin, you recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This bill does not explicitly criminalize the use of artificial intelligence. In fact, the bill that was passed in judiciary 20-0 on consent explicitly criminalizes the use of artificial intelligence. This simply provides an avenue for complaint, an avenue for injunction, and it is solely related to 90 days before a candidate appears on a ballot, and has to do explicitly with deepfakes, fraudulent deepfakes, deceptive, manipulated deepfakes. It is not if the candidate themselves is putting forward artificial intelligence that they support, that is simply getting across their message when they are unable. The purpose of this is not to inhibit technological advances. This is simply to protect our voters, our candidates, from being fraudulently, deceptively manipulated by technology to make voters believe something happened that did not actually occur in real life. That's what this bill does. So if you have a problem with explicit criminalization of artificial intelligence, I would imagine that you might want to pull that judiciary bill off consent and argue against it. That bill has bipartisan support, and the language from that bill, the definitions from that bill, are now included in this bill. And this has bipartisan language in it, supported by and encouraged by and reached consensus by Chairman Lynn and Judiciary, as well as other members who were present at the meeting of the AI bills just last week. So I'm particularly confused why this committee would be voting against this bill when this is the only opportunity we have to put something on the books to give law enforcement, the AG's office, the Secretary of State, a tool in their toolbox to make a change, to to stop the dissemination of disinformation during this critical election year. And this is not a Republican or Democratic thing. This is a bipartisan thing. There's bipartisan support for this bill. So I'm particularly confused, and I would love an explanation, if anyone would care to provide one to me, why suddenly this is getting the treatment it's getting. Thank you.
Further discussion on the motion of inexpedient to legislate on House Bill 1596. Representative Ankerberg.
So I think we're in a position where it's much more likely that if we're just focused on dissemination of content, that the social media companies and platforms have been looking into updating their terms of service that would potentially constrain some of this in some way that would not be a legal setting or a legal standard where, once you accept those terms of services, anybody that's ended up in Facebook jail or, similar situations will tell you those could be much more onerous than having, and probably the way to go at this point, rather than having government step in and create an extra layer of legislation that could potentially infringe on free speech. And I'd also add that having somebody declare their opinions or content as satire or any other way, I don't think that's really effective. When if this content was going to be used in a way to affect an election, that would have to be, there'd have to be disclaimers, and that would fall under current law. So I don't think this bill is needed. I think it's early in the process. We don't really know what situations we might encounter, and therefore trying to legislate pre-crime, I don't think that's really effective. Thank you.
Yes, Representative Lane, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would echo everything that Representative Brennan expressed eloquently. This would not affect free speech if it's free speech and it's the person doing it. And there are very certain rules about what the First Amendment covers. It's not unlimited, but particularly in a political situation, like you said, our existing statutes should handle it. But there are circumstances where there will be fraud. We've already had one which would have been covered by the statute, but I think we need to look forward and realize that this is something that's looming, and is people are sounding the alarm, and this just gives people the tools to do it. And if people don't want to do it, if people want to do it and test the waters, that's on them. But I think we need to make sure that we don't have a lot of deep fakes going around for this election, because it's going to be contentious and it's going to be difficult. And I'd like to see something in place, frankly, to keep both sides reined in.
Further discussion on the motion of inexpedient to legislate. Hearing none, the clerk will call the roll on the motion of inexpedient to legislate to House Bill 1596 FN.
Representative Quayle,
Yes.
Representative Alexander.
Yes.
Representative Perdome O'Brien,
Yes.
Representative Ankerberg,
Yes.
Representative Burnham,
Yes.
Representative Wary,
Yes.
Representative Wood,
Yes.
Representative Osborne,
Yes.
Representative Harvey Belia,
Yes.
Representative Lane,
No.
Representative Ward,
No.
Representative Hamer,
No.
Representative Hamlet,
No.
Representative Palmer,
No.
Representative Bay,
No.
Representative Brennan,
No.
Representative Grill, no. Representative Howard,
No.
Representative Rafter,
No.
Chairman Barry.
Chair votes yes. Without the motion of inexpedient to legislate fails on a vote of 10 to 10. House Bill 1596 will be reported out without recommendation. Representative Ankerberg will be responsible for the motion of inexpedient to legislate report, and Representative Brennan will be responsible for the ought to pass as amended report. With that, I will close the executive session on House Bill 1596. We'll take up our last piece of business, which is House Bill 1091. Representative Lane, where are we?
Well, like I said, I haven't gotten all the way through it. I probably need like 20 minutes just to go through the rest of it and make sure that all the changes got in. I don't know if Rep. Quayle's had an opportunity to go through it.
Yeah.
I hate to make everybody wait, and then we could try and do it before lunch, but
Yeah, so I think here's what we do.
because Because I'm gonna
Let's-
have, there already are a few changes, so it's already gonna have to go back.
Correct. So that's where that's where I'm getting to my point.
Yeah.
Is we have to act on this bill today. I want to get it as close to right as possible, understanding that we will probably miss something. So understanding that we will probably catch something in the next week and a half. In fact, I would put money down that we will catch something in the next week and a half. Let's do this. We're going to have to bring a floor amendment anyways. I think we're at that stage to clean it up. And I hate floor amendments. And I know you hate floor amendments. I hate them so much. I hate them so much.
Especially on a 13-page bill.
Correct. But I think that's where we're at, because even if we get it up to OLS and get it back, we're still going to find something, and we're still going to bring a floor amendment. So I think instead of trying to get the amendment in front of us perfect, my recommendation is we pass the amendment that's in front of us. I will be voting OTPA, just for disclosure, and then Representative Lane will bring forward a floor amendment together. I'll put my name on it, and that will hopefully, what little good favor I have with my side of the aisle, that will help, and what favor you have with your side of the aisle will help. And I think we'll be able to get the floor amendment through. But I think that's where we're at, because otherwise we would probably be here till 4:00.
Oh, I don't think so.
You don't
Because
think so?
the changes are small, and she said she would put it to the top of her list.
Okay.
And, I think if I can just get 20 minutes to do it
Okay.
and get it over to her, I mean, if we take a lunch break and come back at 1, we should have it.
All right. Is there any? I know there are some members that have to go.
I just hate to ask people to vote for something that are changes, and
Yeah, that's
that
fair.
it's not what we all want. And I just don't think that's
Okay.
a good way to do something, especially when the subcommittee works so hard on this. So
Okay.
yeah.
Is there? I know there are members that have to leave. So who has to leave? Anyone? Does anyone else need to leave? It's okay if you do. It's not the end of the world. I'm just trying to figure it out. Okay. So I think we'll do that. Representative Lane. So you'll have an amendment for us ready to go at, let's say, you have to leave at 1:30, Representative Girl. So let's reconvene at 1:15. Give us the longest run on that as possible, and we'll get it done. Okay.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yes, Representative Quayle. You want to turn on your microphone just because we're still on the
Yes, if
record right now.
Representative Lanes does not get her changes back from OLS by that time,
Yeah.
I think we should just go ahead and follow your thought of
Yeah. I think
passing
so.
this amendment and then fixing it with a floor amendment, as distasteful as that might be.
Yes. I'm not a huge, I share the animosity towards a floor member, so I'm just trying to be respectful of the member's time.
But I think that would be just an alternative in case her,
Is that okay with you, Representative Lane? I know it's not ideal, but we're in an unideal situation and we're trying to make the best of it.
it sounds as though the items she's finding, and I'll spend the next hour or so looking through it too.
Okay.
But it sounds like the things she's talking about changing are pretty minor and could be easily explained on the floor.
Okay, so let's come back at 1:00. Hopefully we're done by then. We're going to vote by 1:15. So I'm not saying we will vote. We might vote earlier than that, but if we get to 1:15 and we're not ready, we're gonna vote regardless and move on and go about our business. Is that okay with everyone? Seeing nods. Representative Parliament, are you okay with that? Okay. All right. I'll see you guys back at 1:00. Okay, we'll come back. Representative Lane, where are we with an amendment?
I don't have it yet.
Okay,
I mean, I dropped it off in person. She started working on it at noon. It has to be reviewed by two people. There were only 4 changes, I think, but it has to be reviewed by 2 attorneys.
Okay.
And it was lunchtime. So I'm waiting with
Okay.
bated breath.
so what do we want to do?
I want to give her I can go over there and then call you if you want, or I can try and call her. I don't
Okay.
know. I don't know that I have her number though.
Okay, I'll give her another 5 minutes. How about that? Yeah. Well, I said I wanted to be done with the vote, or start the vote by 1:15. So yeah, that's right. Okay. We'll stand in recess for 5 minutes. Okay, we're gonna come back. We're waiting for them to print it. We have it, right? It's done, right? So yeah, so they're printing it. So before we make a 91A violation, we were discussing the amendment. I said it's time to we need to have those discussions in public. So there's concern. Well, Representative Clay, you want to speak to your concern? You want to speak to your concern about election cycle, page 20, line 27?
Sure. Yes, on page 4 of the amendment as it presently stands on, where is it? Page 4, line 27, item Roman numeral 23. Election cycle means a period of time beginning on the 8th day after a state general election through 21 days after the next state general election. That implies an overlap between 2 successive election cycles. Now, I think that could work, but I'm not sure if that was the,
Okay, that wasn't the intent, I think, when we
Okay.
talked about it. So, so I missed that it didn't get changed.
Okay,
So-
we'll fix that in a flam.
Okay,
right.
Start calling it the flam. It's way more appealing than floor amendment. Flam.
and
We
the,
could be fancy, but like
Right.
flam.
and the other thing that was brought to our attention is that with the date changed to the election cycle that starts on November 26, 2024, the effective date of the bill cannot be January 1, 2025. So we're going to probably change that in the, what did you call it? The flam?
The flam. I'm
The
being
flam.
fancy with it. I'm saying flam.
To no. We could set it on fire.
Yeah, maybe we should go with flam then. Um,
We could get the bailiff really excited. Okay, so November 26, 2024 to tie into that date.
okay.
So.
So we'll have to
'cause
fix
you
that.
can't have, they can't go backwards.
All right. Where are we with the printing? Do we know? It's a
Christina went to print it.
okay.
And
Well, I'll tell you what, we can do some procedural stuff and at least bang that out of the way. So we were on a motion of ought to pass as amended on the amendment.
We still need to adopt the amendment.
Yeah, well, we're not going to adopt this amendment because we're going to adopt the new amendment. So,
Can we withdraw the amendment?
yeah, so instead of voting it down, I'd ask Representative Lane to withdraw her motion to move Amendment 2024-1193H.
I so withdraw 20.
And I will withdraw my second.
1193H.
Yep. So at least we'll get that out of the way. And then just so you guys know, we are going to be out of here by 1:30. So when this amendment comes, we're going to vote. And I'm sure there will be changes with a flam or a flam.
Yeah,
Um,
with
So.
caramel sauce.
Actually, while we're here, they can take care of this. This might be the last time we meet as a full committee. I don't know I don't know if there's any more Senate bills coming. There's no more bills in our possession at a minimum. So I want to say thank you guys. It's been, if I don't see you again, I hope I see you again, but if I don't see you in the full committee, I do have a gift for our clerk, which is why I had the Starbucks today. So I want to say thank you so much, Madam Clerk. It's a year's salary, so don't spend it all in one place. But her notes are excellent, and it's a horrible, horrible, horrible job, and thank God she did it. But I wanted to say thank you, and I thank you from the committee for doing the hard work. So we'll get that out of the way, and then that's why I had Starbucks today. So when they take a picture of me, they're like, "He's not a man of the people. He's got the Starbucks." It was for you. It was for you. I don't.
I was hoping that I'd converted you to the dark side, but
You have not. They did not know what to do with me when I said this morning, yeah, I want a black coffee medium, and they went, "What size is it? Medium?" I don't know what size they have at Starbucks. So, but yes, anyways, thank you so much, Representative Grill. All right, I guess we'll stand and recess for like 2 minutes and then come back. Okay, we're gonna come back. I assume it's been 2 minutes. Representative Lane, you're recognized for a motion.
I move that Amendment 2024-1215H be adopted.
And I'll second the motion. We're now on discussion on Amendment 2024-1215H. Is there any discussion on the amendment?
I can, do you want me to try and highlight? The big change was the date.
Yeah.
Was the date in the online system. There were a few nits that there was a numbering issue that she picked up, and there were 4. I can't remember the other one, but adding a period in on something. So
Big changes.
those were big changes, but the important one was the date. And then I got comments from other ones that we can do either by a floor amendment or wait till it goes over to the Senate. So
We'll try for a floor amendment. Give them less excuse to tinker with it. Okay, any further discussion on Amendment 2024-1215H? Hearing none, clerk will call the roll.
Representative Quayle,
Yes.
Representative Alexander,
Yes.
Representative Perdomo O'Brien,
yes.
Representative Ankerberg,
Yes.
Representative Burnham,
Yes.
Representative Wary,
Yes.
Representative Wood,
Yes.
Representative Osborne,
Yes.
Representative Harvey Belia,
Yes.
Representative Lane,
Yes.
Representative Ward,
Yes.
Representative Hamer,
Yes.
Representative Hamlet,
Yes.
Representative Palmer,
Yes.
Representative Bay,
Yes.
Representative Brennan,
Yes.
Representative Grill, yes. Representative Howard,
Yes.
Representative Rafter,
Yes.
Chairman Barry.
Chair votes yes. With that, Amendment 2024-1215H carries on a vote of 20-0. Representative Lane is recognized for a new motion.
I move HB 1091 ought to pass as amended.
Representative Lane moves House Bill 1091 as amended by Amendment 2024-1215H as ought to pass as amended. I second the motion. Is there discussion on the bill as amended? Hearing none, the clerk will call the roll.
Representative Quayle,
Yes.
Representative Alexander,
Yes.
Representative Perdomo O'Brien,
Yes.
Representative Ankerberg,
Yes.
Representative Burnham,
Yes.
Representative Wary,
Yes.
Representative Wood,
Yes.
Representative Osborne,
Yes.
Representative Harvey Belia,
Yes.
Representative Lane,
Yes.
Representative Ward,
Yes.
Representative Hamer,
Yes.
Representative Hamlet,
Yes.
Representative Palmer,
Yes.
Representative Bay,
Yes.
Representative Brennan,
Yes.
Representative Grill, yes. Representative Howard,
Yes.
Representative Rafter,
Yes.
and Chairman Barry.
The chair votes yes. So with that, House Bill 1091 passes as ought to pass as amended on a vote of 20-0. It's not going to go on the consent calendar because we're probably going to need a floor amendment. So why put it on why do that and then have to get 10 signatures when we're going to have to amend it anyways? So with that concludes our business. I hope to see you guys. Maybe we'll meet one more time. I hope so. Maybe you don't. I don't know. But if I don't, I'll see you when I see you. Thank you.